Xenoverse 2 has always been notorious for its extremely questionable decisions with its cast characters. About 2 weeks ago, I took it upon myself to go through the entire roster and fix up the skill sets of all the roster characters. However, since then, I've noticed that there's more problems that lie beyond the skill sets of the characters. The characters' stats and super souls are all extremely unbalanced too compared to the CAC. So today, I'm bringing you all an update to my gameplay enhancer, the 2.0 update. What this update brings is a huge super soul revamp to the entire roster. I went through them all with a fine-tooth comb and brushed up their super souls to give them super souls that make more sense thematically and that actually work. And along with that, I removed the stat decrease that all cast characters get outside of online battle, and to also go through and change up the character super soul to make them all competitively viable. And that's not all I've done. I took a bunch of your guys' suggestions and made some of my own changes to the character skill sets that I'm pretty sure a lot of you would be excited to see. So without any further ado, let's get into the highlights of this new update to the gameplay enhancer. The download link, along with the 2.0 update patch notes, are all in the description, by the way. Headlining this update for the gameplay enhancer, we have the removal of the stat decrease that are applied to your characters during parallel quests. Cast characters specifically. Originally, all cast characters have a 50% stat decrease to all their stats. This makes it so parallel quests take notoriously longer playing as a cast character, and you're handicapping yourself rather than playing as your CAC. So of course what this change does is removes that stat decrease that are applied to all the cast characters in all forms of content. Normally the stat increase does not apply in offline or online battles, but in every other piece of content in Xenoverse 2 that stat decrease is present. So what this does is removes that stat decrease and makes every single character about 5 times more viable than they would normally be in all forms of content. Before we move on to the Super Soul sections of this video, let's talk about the skill set changes from the 1.0 update that I feel like a lot of you guys would like to see. We'll first start out with the changes that I've made on my own volition, and then we'll segue into the changes that I've gotten from feedback. But without any further ado, let's look at some of the highlights of my own changes. The first Super Saiyan costume for Goku now actually has the Spirit Bomb super attack rather than the Kamehameha. This one isn't a huge change, but I feel like it fits more thematically than him having the Kamehameha, considering how he has this as an ultimate attack. The Masked Saiyan now has Savory Slicer instead of Saucer Blade. This one's a pretty big change in my opinion, because Savory Slicer is a lot easier to combo into and looks a lot cooler than Saucer Blade in my opinion. Plus, Savory Slicer looks a lot like Bardock's attack from Heroes, so I feel like this one was a pretty good fix. Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta got a pretty big change in my opinion, and he now has Wild Buster over Big Bang attack. And his Final Flash attack was moved to the X slot rather than the Y slot, which makes more sense and is consistent with the other roster characters. The reason for the Wild Buster change, however, is because Vegeta, while he is a ranged character, has an overinflation of Ki Blast attacks. Plus, Big Bang attack just isn't as good as Final Flash in my opinion because of the really long startup time, so I feel like giving him a melee attack that fits with the character considering how it's GT Vegeta's attack works out really well in my opinion. Whis Symbol Battlesuit Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan Vegeta now has Earth-Splitting Galick Gun over Big Bang attack for similar reasons why Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta lost Big Bang attack, in addition for Wild Buster. And that's because Earth-Splitting Galick Gun is a lot easier to combo into than Big Bang attack, as Big Bang attack requires either a very specific combo setup or a stamina break in order to combo in reliably, while Earth-Splitting Galick Gun can be comboed into a ton of Vegeta strings. Goku Black got an addition of a second ultimate attack and Instant Severance, which fits very well with Goku Black and is on his mentor costume, so I thought I'd throw it into a second ultimate slot on his base form. Zamasu got a second ultimate in Full Power Energy Wave due to the fact that he, like Goku Black, was missing an ultimate, and plus this will make Zamasu a lot more viable having a second ultimate attack that's a bit more reliable to combo into than Instant Severance. Majin Buu Gohan Absorb actually got a few changes. In his first change, he now has Assault Rain over Super Ki Explosion, due to the fact Assault Rain is very unique and attacks the entire enemy field, making Buuhan a lot more viable for quests with multiple enemies, and he also got Innocence Bullet over Kamehameha, so he has the ability to poison enemy, making Buuhan a very good character to bring in very difficult missions. Now, of course, those weren't all the changes that I've made. You can find the full list down in the description below. Those were just the highlights. However, let's segue on over to the suggested changes that I thought were good ideas to put into this add-on. These suggestions were made by my viewers on my last video, so if you have any feedback or changes you would like to see to this add-on, or any fixes for characters that you think could be better with certain skills, feel free to leave a comment. But anyway, without any further ado, let's move on to the suggested changes. Super Saiyan 4 Goku, Vegeta, and Gogeta now have Explosive Wave for Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegeta, and Vanisher Guard for Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta instead of Science Vanish for all three. This was a change I saw a lot of people requesting, so I definitely wanted to make sure to get this one in. Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta now has Impact Flare instead of Final Flash to more represent the I-Beam he did in the anime against Omega. Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta now has Meteor Explosion to give him a pretty cool homage to Dragon Ball Super Gogeta as a really cool what-if. Jiren now has Mighty Explosive Wave instead of Science Vanish, Mighty Explosive Wave being full power Jiren's evasive. Base form Jiren now has Justice Kick instead of Impact Flare being full power Jiren's attack, and Justice Kick being more representative of what he did in the anime. Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Gogeta no longer has Warp and instead has Vanisher Guard again. Rose Goku Black no longer has Saucer Blade and instead has Savory Slicer. Mastered Ultra Instant Goku no longer has Warp and instead his evasive has been reverted back to Instant Rise, which I recently found out is actually better than the normal Instant Rise. Piccolo's Cell Saga variation, being his 4th variation, now has Special Beam Cannon as a super attack, and Light Grenade as an ultimate attack. Great Saiyan Man now has Kamehameha instead of Ki Blast Cannon, allowing for better combo potential. And he also has Burning Strike instead of Full Power Energy Wave. Broly Full Power Super Saiyan now has Brutal Buster instead of Blaster Meteor, a very fitting change in my opinion. Goku GT's 3rd variation is now a Kaioken variation, a very neat suggestion if I do say so myself. And then a very neat suggestion I got, which is, screw it. I'll let the video speak for itself. No, I didn't know what to fit this change in, but this is a change I made myself where supervillains can no longer be grabbed, to make them a bit more of a threat than they already were. Another change I made where I didn't know to throw in the video was the fact that Great Ape's stats were greatly buffed, and their movesets were all changed to be much better for being apes, because they all have the same moveset normally. This change makes Great Apes very fun to fight in offline battle, however it should be noted with this Great Ape stat increase, Great Apes in parallel quests are also a lot more difficult, which could add some longevity to some parallel quests. And last but not least, let's move on to the final part of the video. As was made clear in the beginning of the video, the stats weren't the only thing changed on the roster characters. Their Super Souls were all altered to be a lot more competitive and better in all forms of content. Though this only applied for the launch game of Xenoverse 2, as the DLC characters don't really struggle with this problem. But here are some of the highlights. You can find a full list down in the description if you're curious. All forms of Goku that originally had Body Don't Let Me Down now have I've Been Saving This Kaioken, a much needed upgrade in my opinion. The Goku that fought Kid Buu got a huge upgrade in my opinion. He now has the Super Soul This Thing Carries Hopes of Everyone on Earth, rather than I Hope You're Reborn as Someone Good This Time. His original Super Soul completely restored his ki and upon an enemy KO, which sounds good on paper, but in an online battle with friends, or in a mission against one enemy, that'd be kinda hard to activate, and the fact that he has a charge up makes it kinda redundant. Though, his new Super Soul, when he's using the Super Spirit Bomb, he gets a huge boost to his Ki Blast skills, which makes the Spirit Bomb hit a lot harder, and then he also gets health recovery. So bringing this Goku on a mission that's really difficult is probably something in your best interest, especially with the stat increase. Xeno Bardock gets a huge upgrade from his original Super Soul Now It's All Over, and instead has You Irritating Little Pest. Now It's All Over only boosts Charge Ki Blast when your health is really low. However, You Irritating Little Pest makes it so all his super attacks whenever he uses one does a lot more damage. And the fact that he has a bunch of melee-based supers, and with the stat increase, this Bardock will be hitting like a freaking truck in all parallel quests. And plus, the Super Soul name fits this Bardock pretty well in my opinion. All versions of Saiyan Saga Vegeta now have the Super Soul You and this entire planet are as good as space dust, rather than I Am the Universe's Strongest. I Am the Universe's Strongest originally only boosted your charge ki blasts a small amount and could be stacked up to 10 times, while You and this entire planet as good as space dust boosts all forms of Galick Gun's damage by a ludicrous degree. And because Saiyan Saga Vegeta is based around the Galick Gun, I thought it'd be a good idea to give him the Super Soul to make him an actual huge threat inside of all forms of content. Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta got a pretty good upgrade in my opinion. His original Super Soul was called I'm an Earthling and a Proud Saiyan, which allowed him whenever his health was under 25% to boost his Ki Blast skills by a good amount and his Charge Ki Blast, which was pretty good, but under 25% HP is pretty strict. So his new Super Soul, Ha, allows us so whenever he's using a charge up skill, he gets Ki auto recovery, and bundled with Ultimate Charge, it allows him to charge Ki really fast, and that's not all. He also gets a huge boost to his Strike and Ki Blast skills, and since this Vegeta is pretty Ki oriented, this is a very huge upgrade for Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta in my opinion. Well, that brings us to the end of today's video, guys. I hope you all enjoyed this 2.0 update for the Gameplay Enhancer. Of course, the download link is in the description along with all the patch notes, and of course, if you guys have any suggestions, feedback, or just want to talk about this add-on in general, feel free to leave a comment. And that's all the time I have for today, guys, but I will see you all in the next video.